Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Lauren Schellberg, and welcome to part 2 of Emerging Forensic Technologies in Law Enforcement. Go ahead and drop your agency or organization in the comments so we can all see who's here. We have hundreds of people joining us today from agencies, organizations, and laboratories across the United States and from around the world, which reflects how broadly these conversations are resonating. The work is evolving quickly, and understanding emerging technology has become a core part of modern investigations. And that's exactly why Tech Halo exists. We create an education-first space where public safety professionals can learn about emerging technology through trusted, credible conversations and directly from those using the technology in practice. These events are always free for public safety professionals because we believe that there should never be a price tag on education, and especially education that directly impacts investigations, courtroom outcomes, and ultimately the safety of our communities. Today's session dives deeper into rapid DNA and 3D crime scene reconstruction, two very different technologies with one very similar goal: helping agencies work faster, more accurately, and with greater confidence in the results that they present. I also want to thank our sponsors, Thermo Fisher Scientific and Faro. They truly share our commitment to education and responsible technology adoption, and their support makes events like these possible. And to ask a question during the event, the chat will remain open for questions and comments. However, if you have a question that may require a more detailed answer, please ask it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And these questions will not be seen by other attendees and will be the questions that our presenters will answer live at the end of the session. And stay tuned until the end of the event to hear about our final event of the Emerging Technology series. And to kick things off, I am excited to introduce Fred Herron. Fred is the retired sheriff of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and one of the early leaders in adopting both rapid DNA and 3D crime scene reconstruction. He now works with Tech Halo to help bring together the public safety community and technology providers around meaningful education-driven conversations like this one today. Fred will share some opening remarks on why staying engaged with emerging technology matters now more than ever, and a brief overview of his personal experience with rapid DNA and 3D crime scene reconstruction. Over to you, Fred.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you very much. I think everybody could see my screen. First of all, I'm very jealous. I saw as the names were coming up on the screen and your locations. For those of you in Florida and Arizona, I'm very, very jealous. We got a lot of snow here in Philadelphia, and we've got more snow coming our way. For those of you in Buffalo, this is probably not a big deal to you, but we don't get that kind of snow that often. This is the most snow we've had in the last 10 years. But thank you for letting me join you today. As Lauren had said, my name is Fred Herron, and I'm just recently retired out of 39 years in law enforcement, 35 in a municipal department, those last 16 as the police chief there in Bensalem Township in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And in my last 4 years, I was the sheriff of the county, and now I'm in the private world. So I'm very, very happy to be here today. I could tell you for my 39 years, as most of you know, technology is just, it's not something I thought about in 1987. And I'll explain the slide. It's the only slide I've got, but I'll explain that in a minute. But technology is constantly changing. And the fact that we're getting this training here and for free, which is really amazing that Tech Halo could bring this to you at no charge to be able to share different things. This isn't a sales pitch. This is just a way to share two incredible evolving technology that is really a game changer in the criminal justice and the law enforcement community. It's not an option. We've got to stay up to date. If you take a look at the only slide that I have, because I'm just the opening here, in 1987 when I came on, it was phone booths. If you had to call the station and you couldn't get back to it, or you had to call somebody relating to a job that you were on, you found a phone booth. Sometimes you were lucky enough to pull up to the phone booth in the car, or sometimes you had to get out and make a call. And then some years later, I think it was the early 90s, the bag phones came around. Bag phones and pagers, and we thought that was an amazing thing. And we changed. We all went out, we got pagers, and you got a phone number that you would call back, or people could give you messages on that. Some of the later pagers, you were able to type back messages, then bag phones, then of course our iPhones. And there's nothing we can't do on that iPhone. And that's what we have to stay up to date with today. We're going to talk about two pieces of technology that you're going to get a lot more information on, and that is rapid DNA and 3D technology for crime scenes, from accident scenes, which I can honestly tell you, I didn't read about this stuff. I've been using this. In Bensalem in 2017, it was March of 17, my agency became the first law enforcement, U.S. law enforcement, to utilize rapid DNA 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you're going to hear a lot more about that. And then also, FARO has just been an amazing, amazing tool at crime scenes and at accident scenes. I'm going to tell you why these two pieces of tools and technology are so important, not just to us as law enforcement, but also to the courts, the criminal justice system, and our community at whole. This is just amazing stuff. You know, people, not us so much, but the citizens that we serve in the community, they watch television, they watch Law and Order, they watch all kinds of show, and they see DNA coming back in 20 minutes on NBC. They see crime scenes, these amazing pictures and videos and all the stuff of crime scenes that most departments can't afford. But these two technology that we're going to talk about today, they bring that TV, Hollywood, to real life. That you can bring, let's talk about rapid DNA. You could bring rapid DNA to your department. You know, we had to look outside the box when I was in Bensalem. I had to look outside the box because DNA in Pennsylvania, if you are not a CODIS lab, and there's only 3 CODIS labs in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, I saw somebody pop up from Philadelphia Police, Allegheny County, which is Pittsburgh. Those two have their own CODIS labs, and then everybody else has to use the state police, which they do a phenomenal job, but sometimes they're just so backed up, it takes a long time. And I need to solve crime now. I need to identify victims now. I need to clear the innocent now. And rapid DNA does that. And there's not a price you could pay on that. That is just it's such a valuable tool. And the community wants to know why we don't get DNA results back that quick. Let's jump ahead now to FARO. Let's talk about 3D crime scenes. You know, one of the things, I grew up in New York City. I saw somebody pop up from New York, whether state or maybe some folks from NYPD on here today. I grew up in New York City, so I was used to traffic. But it was nothing more as a chief that used to drive me nuts than closing down roadways for incredible amounts of times while we're doing hand measurements with paint and tape marks and all kinds of things back in the day. And then you have FARO. You have a technology like this that you could just set up and boom, you're getting that crime scene, you're getting that accident scene cleared up, most likely sometimes in less than an hour, depending on the scene. Same thing with homicide scenes or other graphic crime scenes where you're deploying the FARO inside that establishment, and boom, it's just taking a real time. There's no human error. Oh, did the officer not sketch that in? Did he forget something? Did she forget something? It doesn't happen with FARO, and that's something we have to remember, and that's what the people expect for us. And I think that's what we expect to give. But sometimes the technology wasn't there, but it is now. And I can't even tell you how much I appreciate and how I applaud you taking the time for this hour and a half out of your busy day, because we all have a lot of things going on, to come out to Tech Halo, which is going to continue to provide some incredible information to law enforcement at no charge. And that is just an amazing service that I'm glad that we're able to bring to you. So listen up, strap yourself in, because you're about to hear amazing presentations on 2 game-changing pieces of equipment and technology for law enforcement. Law enforcement 2026 and beyond. Thank you for being here. You're going to really enjoy what you're about to hear. Lauren.
Thank you, Fred, for those insights on rapid DNA and 3D crime scene reconstruction, and for setting the stage for why these technologies are so important to understand in today's investigative environment. That was a great introduction to our first segment on rapid DNA. We're now going to share a short video from Thermo Fisher Scientific that shows how rapid DNA is being used today.
From the moment a call comes in, the clock starts running.
911, what's your emergency?
Backlog. Under-resourced crime labs and ever more complex cases can mean waiting days, weeks, or even months for answers. But that's time you don't have. With every passing minute, memories fade, evidence deteriorates, and suspects flee. It's a race against time that can sometimes feel like a losing battle. But what if there was a way to get answers for the families who desperately need them faster than ever before?
Copy. Go ahead.
Imagine there's a tool that can accurately link someone to a crime and eliminate the wrongly accused in the time it takes to watch a movie. Now, getting the answers you need in just minutes is no longer fiction. It's reality. At Thermo Fisher Scientific, we share your mission to make the world safer. For over 30 years, we've provided forensic laboratories worldwide with gold standard forensic tools. And now, the power of DNA is revolutionizing policing as you know it. In just 90 minutes, rapid DNA technology gives you the answers to focus on the right suspect. Right from the very start of an investigation. So you can protect your community, bring justice to those who seek it, identify the missing, and help prevent tomorrow's victims. It's time to start winning the battle with the clock, because 90 minutes can change everything.
What an exciting video showcasing the capabilities of rapid DNA and how quickly results can be generated, just 90 minutes. It's a powerful example of what's possible when agencies have access to the right tools. And to build on that, I'll turn it over to Ariana Wheaton with Thermo Fisher Scientific to walk through how this technology is being implemented and what agencies should be thinking about as they consider its use. Over to you, Ariana.
Thanks, Lauren. Let me pull up these slides real quick. So obviously you saw very exciting activity with rapid DNA and all of the things that Thermo Fisher Scientific is doing. You also heard in the video, this is not new to the crime laboratories that are on the webinar today. Thermo Fisher Scientific really is a world leader in DNA technology. We've been servicing crime laboratories, as you heard, for over 30 years with innovative DNA technology and tools. And we're really proud of the mission of our company, right? It's about making the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. And clearly, from everything you've heard from Lauren and Fred, and you saw in the video, we're focused today on the safer aspects and the instruments and tools that are being developed, not just for solving crime, but also identifying potential threats. So if we take a deeper look at rapid DNA, what is the real value of rapid DNA and what are we doing in this space? DNA technology is not new to crime solving, but what rapid DNA does is really extend the crime fighting capabilities, right? And it's about that partnership between the crime laboratories and their partner agencies, being able to decentralize DNA testing. You can see there's a quote down at the bottom of your screen from our very own Fred Herron, who you just heard from. This is about looking at different ways of processing samples. Right now, as you heard in the video, a lot of the crime labs are really funded and resourced to focus more on those Part 1 violent crimes. But we all know, and you guys know better than anybody else, that career criminals start out with those low-level property crimes. So it's about being able to test those samples, those property crimes earlier in a criminal investigation with the goal of ensuring that these criminals are not escalating to those Part 1 violent crimes and getting criminals off the street faster. So if we take a deeper look at the actual instrument itself, this is the Rapid Hit ID system from Thermo Fisher Scientific. It really is about the size of a small microwave oven if you've never seen one in person. And it is designed to be as easy as making a cup of coffee, right? It's three simple steps. It's about inserting a cheek swab or evidence sample into a cartridge, putting that cartridge into the instrument, running that instrument, and 90 minutes later getting investigative intelligence on the other side of it. It's about compressing all of the tools and steps that a traditional crime laboratory goes through to process DNA into this one microwave-sized box. And it's really designed to be very simple to use and operated by non-technical users. So Doug's going to speak a little bit today on the investigative intelligence side of things and all the amazing work that the FBI is doing to ensure that the right checks and balances are in place as we look at this new technology. But I did want to, just before I hand it over to him, highlight a few other areas of applications that Rapid DNA is being used for around the globe. Arrestee detainee enrollment. Of course, you saw this in the video. It's about collecting and generating DNA profiles while you have a suspect or a detainee in custody. Doug will speak more about the investigative intelligence, but this is about generating investigative leads in real time to help solve those property crimes, auto thefts, and other local crime. And then human remains identification. Many of you have, I'm sure, heard in the news about all of the work that has been going on around the globe in using DNA and specifically rapid DNA to help get answers back in mass disaster scenarios, get the families the information they need faster, and then combating human trafficking at the border and all of the amazing work that has gone on in using rapid DNA for those. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Lauren to transition us to our next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ariana, for those insights and for walking us through how rapid DNA is being used in practice, which leads us to our final segment on rapid DNA. And we're very excited to have Doug Harris with us today, who currently serves as the FBI Rapid DNA Implementation Advisor. And before leading the rapid DNA effort for the FBI laboratory, Doug served as the Thank you, Doug, for that very informative update and for providing clarity on the federal pathway for rapid DNA use within CODIS. Taken together, today's rapid DNA discussion shows how this technology can be used throughout an investigation, from early decision-making to broader operational use, while maintaining evidentiary standards. It also highlights a broader theme that applies across forensic technologies, capturing accurate information early and preserving it in a way that stands up over time. That same principle carries over to our next technology focus, 3D crime scene reconstruction. And to set the stage, we'll start with a short video from FARO that shows how 3D documentation is being used to capture, preserve, and present crime scenes with greater clarity.
In public safety, every second matters. Every detail, no matter how big or small, can make the difference between clarity and confusion. That's where FARO Technologies comes in. With industry-leading 3D laser scanning and software solutions, FARO helps law enforcement and public safety professionals document, analyze, and understand every scene faster, safer, and with unmatched accuracy. From crime and crash scene documentation to pre-incident and fire planning, FARO's advanced hardware like the Focus, Blink, and Orbis laser scanners captures millions of data points in minutes, preserving every detail in true 3D. Back at the station, FARO's own 3D software transforms that data into powerful reconstructions and visualizations. Investigators can recreate events, take precise measurements, analyze trajectories, and bring juries directly to the scene. Whether you're documenting a crash scene, investigating a crime, or planning a complex response scenario, FARO gives you the tools to work smarter, faster, and with complete confidence. And the best part? FARO's public safety team is made up of former law enforcement and fire service professionals. People who've been there, who understand the challenges, and who are dedicated to helping you get the job done right. FARO, delivering truth through technology to protect those who protect and serve. Because when accuracy matters most, you can trust FARO to bring life to every scene.
That was a great video showing how 3D crime scene reconstruction allows law enforcement and public safety professionals to capture scenes quickly, preserve them accurately, and revisit them long after the scene itself is gone. And now to build on that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Voigt from FARO Technologies. Jeff will walk through how these tools are being used in practice and what agencies should understand as they consider integrating 3D documentation into their workflows. Over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me today. As Lauren mentioned, my name is Jeff Voigt. I'm the Market Segment Manager for Public Safety at FARO Technologies. I've been utilizing 3D capture equipment for over 20 years. I've been with FARO for 13 years, assisting with training law enforcement agencies, fire services, private forensics companies on the use of this technology. So thank you today. I appreciate it. The video kind of did a really good job at showing what FARO does, but we specialize in 3D capture hardware as well as analysis and presentation software called FARO Zone. We serve, just kind of give a general overview for those that aren't familiar with our company. I see many on this chat that I'm very familiar with. But what FARO does and who we serve is that we have over 11,000 agencies and private forensics companies that utilize our software. Thousands of customers that utilize our hardware for 3D capture and preservation. And then we've had hundreds of cases where our data has been presented and accepted in a courtroom setting. Who we serve, police officers, crime and crash scene investigators, reconstructionists, private forensics investigators, private security, education institutions, fire safety, essentially any group or agency that needs to preserve a scene, whether it's a crash, a crime, or a fire, in three-dimensional. Some of the agencies that you might recognize from an international standpoint: federal agencies, military, state, local agencies, as well as international that you see displayed on the lower row. Some examples that you might have seen in the news, sadly, recently were the President Trump assassination attempts. You can see a FARO Focus scanner utilized to document the multiple scenes. The 2025 Charlie Kirk assassination. The Breonna Taylor bullet trajectory was utilized FARO's own software to analyze the trajectory there. And then you can see in the lower right-hand corner, just another example of the actual Christmas bombing where FARO solutions were used to preserve the scene. From an application standpoint in a hardware, this four quadrants kind of demonstrate the outputs you can expect in the hardware solutions used to capture. So we specialize in crash investigation documentation, crime scene documentation, pre-incident planning, and more laboratory-based. So in the upper left and upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can see the images displayed of our terrestrial laser scanners, also known as the FARO Focus and FARO Blink laser scanners. The Focus laser scanner is a highly accurate, very fast, easy-to-use solution that you can see with the displays here. But most recently, we are introducing a new solution called the FARO Blink laser scanner. It's more of an entry-level device that captures scans in less than 30 seconds with guided scanning. So I can give a device to someone that doesn't have much experience, and it almost walks them through on how to scan. It's very easy to use, single button operation. So those were terrestrial scanners where you literally have to put it on a tripod and hit play on scan. We also offer a solution in the lower left-hand corner, also known as our Orbis Premium Laser Scanner, or mobile scanner, where you can physically walk and scan. So this incident in the lower left-hand corner demonstrates us documenting a school, I believe in Florida, where you can walk and do pre-incident planning, pre-event planning, or large-scale documentation very quickly. You can mount this solution to a vehicle or even a drone to do documentation with this. And then finally, in the lower right-hand corner, for more laboratory-like solutions where you can get sub-millimeter micron accuracy, is with our Creaform Handy Scanner, our scan arm solutions to document physical evidence, tool marks. In this case, you can see organs and so forth. So the reason why a lot of our customers deploy FARO solutions is, one, it can reduce the total amount of officers on scene. Traditionally, documenting a crime scene or a crash investigation, you would have tape measurers, total stations, etc., that might require more people. With scanning, you can deploy it down with one person very quickly, very accurately. You're preserving critical evidence in the entire scene. Your 3D scanner collects millions of points per second, measurement points. So you're preserving the scene in its entirety, because you might realize that, hey, shoot, I needed something that I did not capture with hand physical measurements. The 3D scanner allows you to digitally preserve that scene and revisit it at a later point, years down the road, even potentially. And then you saw for some of those displays that you saw the 3D immersion, it makes it it provides better clarity to judges, juries, prosecutors, command on what the scene was depicting. And then FARO has a unique solution too, where we digitally hash at the scanner levels for data authenticity, chain of custody purposes. So it's great that we collected all this information with this hardware, this 3D data, but what do you do with it? FARO offers a solution called FARO Zone software that allows you to take this three-dimensional data and actually make inferences from it, presentation tools, and this is called FARO Zone software. So what FARO Zone is that it allows you to process data. So you can now do point cloud registration. So if you have a FARO scanner, you can do registration directly in the software. It also allows you to do photogrammetry, which I'll show in a slide shortly. So if you have other solutions like a drone where you're taking video or images with a drone, or your phone or another camera, you can actually produce three-dimensional data from it. But it also allows you to do diagramming, forensics analysis, producing courtroom visuals, as well as reports. So here's just an example of what I mentioned earlier. FARO recognizes that obviously if you have a FARO hardware scanner, that's great for preservation, but there's also other solutions out there that are very powerful, like drones and phones that are at your disposal. And FARO Zone is meant to be data agnostic. So you can take that drone, those drone images, as you can see on the left-hand side, and actually produce three-dimensional images directly within the software itself. The video on the left is a Skydio X10, images captured there, and within FARO Zone software, the photogrammetry solution produced the three-dimensional point cloud. But if you have a terrestrial laser scanner, for instance, where you need to get the interior of a scene and then combine that with a drone in this example, you can see the image on the right of a residence that was captured with a combination of a drone and a FARO scanner. So within Zone itself, you can produce many courtroom deliverables. This includes two-dimensional and three-dimensional diagrams, scaled orthographic photos from a top-down perspective you see in this case of a barbershop homicide, and you can do side perspectives as well. The JFK shooting, you can see in the lower left-hand corner, where you can produce fly-through videos, giving you a nice spatial visual relationship of your entire scene. And then you can build animations. You can see in the lower right-hand corner. Very easily, very intuitively. A new feature that we're going to be releasing publicly in the next, in a couple of weeks, is what we call Zone to Go 2.0. We're very proud of this. This allows you to do what is called almost producing a digital case file of your scene. I see many customers on here that might be familiar with Scene to Go, but we're producing a new thing called Zone to Go, where you can get access to the entire 3D scene and put it on a flash drive that you can give to someone that otherwise doesn't have our software, like an attorney or someone in command. So I can give this entire 3D scene to someone on a flash drive or some other storage medium. They can navigate and fly through it. You can see an animation being displayed here, so you can have an animation included. But in the upper left-hand corner, this video is a little bit long and I have too much time, but you actually can supplement this case file with things that were not collected with FARO scanners, such as supplemental images, body camera footage, autopsy reports, PDF files, etc., that you can include in all one singular file that you can give to someone versus having to piecemeal this throughout different solutions. Other tools that you can do within FARO Zone is integrated bullet trajectory. So in this case, you can see the gentleman on the ground position, prone shooting. You can then put trajectory rods into this drywall piece as this example, 3D scan it, and then within Zone, within a matter of minutes, you can produce trajectory report from it. In the lower portion of the screen, you can also do blood spatter analysis. You can take a photograph of the spatter, overlay it on top of your three-dimensional scan data, and get the origin point. For collision investigators, you can do analysis such as crush, momentum, and something very new that we're very proud of at the very bottom is EDR import. So if you have an EDR import from a Bosch system or Tesla, you can automatically just take that report, drop it into Ferrozone, and it'll actually build that animation for you. And you can see the steering, how fast the vehicle was going, if an airbag went off, or if they're braking. This is done automatically, so you don't have to do physical inputs, and this is all within Zone. Another neat feature that we released last year, but I don't think many are probably familiar with, is that we have a collision prediction system within Zone now. So I can set up situations and in scenarios where I can say, hey, if these vehicles were going this speed at this angle, what could happen? I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit in this video. It's a little bit lengthy, but you can see you can do this not just with two vehicles. You can do it with an infinite quantity of vehicles where it actually shows you what most likely would happen if you had this scenario. So it helps investigators kind of validate what they think happened in a collision investigation. I only have 5 minutes, so Ferrozone has much, much more. And you can see from our tech sheet here, there's a lot more. But this was not meant to be a sales call. What I really want to take this for, especially for our existing customers and those that aren't our customers, is please take my information down. If you think there's any improvements we can make to the solution or there's any gaps, please take my email, send me an email, and I'd love to talk to you about this. But I'm going to pass this over to Lauren for our next presenter, Brian O'Neill.
Thank you, Jeff, for walking us through how 3D crime scene reconstruction is being applied in investigations and how agencies are using these tools to document scenes with greater accuracy and clarity. To close out our 3D crime scene reconstruction segment, we're going to hear from Brian O'Neill, who is a sheriff deputy with the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office in Oregon and the lead reconstructionist for the county's crime reconstruction and forensic technician team. He has investigated hundreds of crashes and documented more than 100 crime scenes, including active shooter cases using Faro laser scanning technology. Brian is also a Faro trainer and regularly works to validate and test scanner data in real-world conditions. Brian, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm hoping you can see my screen. Did I share correctly?
Looks good.
Perfect. All right. So Jeff did a good job of setting up what I'm going to go through. She kind of talked about my background here. You can kind of take a look and see. I've been using the scanner since 2014, so 12 years using the scanner, and really the advancements and the way they've improved it has really been incredible. The equipment I use, I've got a Faro S350 laser scanner. We also use a Skydio drone. So what Jeff was talking about, where we do a lot, especially in crashes, we'll do a lot of combining the laser scan data with drone data as a way to speed up capture. And then for pretty much everything you're going to see here today, I used the Ferrozone software to put it together. And I think Jeff really understated how easy and quick that is to be able to utilize and learn. So there's all kinds of deliverables that you can give when it comes to 3D data. And I've heard it said a couple of different times today, where it really starts with that capture and the preservation of the evidence. Once you have that captured, you can do a ton with it. So this is a rather large shootout scene that we had. It was a pursuit and shootout, and there were over 100 rounds fired during this engagement. What's interesting, missed the pause button there just a little bit. This is the suspect's vehicle sitting here. This is where the vehicle was when the shooting happened. However, it is not where it was when we got to the scene. So when we started documenting the scene, the van was out here, right here. And I was able to capture the data using the scanner and then go back and make a copy of those points and place them back over here where it was sitting during the engagement time. And so that's one of the things that I really like about the flexibility that it allows us, is to be able to put things back where they go. Now, with that responsibility, or with that power comes a lot of responsibility, and that you've got to make sure you're not just arbitrarily putting it in. There were certain markers that I was able to identify to get that back where it was. So, you don't want to just go crazy and start throwing stuff wherever. That same scene, we did trajectories. And so here is all the trajectories together, which can be a little daunting. You can see, back up a little bit here. There we've got kind of a lot of overlapping, but it's very easy with the FaroZone software. I can switch on. So there's our suspects rounds that were fired. As we come back around, I'll flip it around and show the law enforcement rounds that were fired that we were able to do trajectories on. So it gives you that ability. Again, once you've captured that data at the scene, it's very easy to kind of go through different permutations of things you want to see and ways that you can present them in court. Now, you can do all of this presenting live, which gives you a lot of ability to, I could have manually flown us around looking at different perspectives, but that requires a pretty beefy computer to do that, which is sometimes hard in court. So what I've done is just make little movies, little MP4s, to very easily allow us to showcase what it is we want to showcase. And again, those are all very, very easy to make. So this is dash camera video of a incident with a patrol car where we had a pedestrian crossing the street. And she is, hopefully you can see my pointer here. She's over here by the waiting for the crosswalk sign. And so in a minute here, we'll see the action start. And luckily she was not hurt very badly, but she does get impacted by that patrol car. So this is the scene as I found it when I arrived. Okay, the vehicle that struck her had another one right behind, and they left those in place. And so that kind of just shows you this is what it looked like when I arrived. Well, that's great to document how the scene was, but in order to answer the problem of what the heck happened in this scenario, I need to put that lead vehicle back where it was. And so very similar to the last one, I simply made a copy of those points, and utilizing the dash camera footage from the patrol car behind them, I was able to put the vehicle back into place. So now that it's there, I can, in the software, fly to the perspective of the driver. So here is what the dash camera sees. Here is what the driver saw, just simply by changing that perspective, right? And remember, the dash camera is up here by the rear view mirror, so that explains the difference in what they could, what each could see and why it's so different. This helped us to answer the question of why this happened. So I think that's just an incredibly powerful tool to allow you to be able to do that and really better understand what things could be seen at the time the incident happened. So this was a case where we had someone, a lady was lying in bed, and a bullet comes through her wall and hits her in the head. Now, this is out in the countryside. This is not like, the downtown, horrible area where drive-bys happen all the time. This is countryside. And so what we had to try and figure out is where this bullet came from. And so what we did is do some trajectory. So you can see that I've got 3 trajectory cones there. In this particular case, those of you familiar with trajectory know that when you're placing the rod, you want to be very careful and deliberate with it and attempt to put it in without disturbing anything. There was some kind of blockage in there. So my team at the time was not able to, my trained folks, I guess I should say, could not get the trajectory rod there. But then one of the detectives came up and just shoved on the rod a little bit and it went through. Okay, well, that's obviously not great because they sort of created their own trajectory. So I had to kind of try and figure out ways to determine if that was even remotely accurate. So what I did is one of those trajectories is the rod that they shoved through. Another one, I simply clicked in the point cloud itself at the top of the bullet hole or the bullet defect on the inside and the top on the outside, and then the same at the bottom and created lines with that. So sort of 2 different ways to get trajectories. One was off of the rod, and 2 was sort of using the bullet defect itself. Now, obviously none of those 3 are the appropriate way and the way we really should do trajectory, but I feel like it kind of got us in the right vicinity. So you can see I've overlaid all the trajectories together, and they all cover kind of the same area. And while this is not going to be necessarily good enough for us to really lock it down, what it did is it gave our detectives sort of an area to go and start talking to people. And so they were out talking to the folks that own this property up here, and learned that on that day they were out hunting coyotes and firing shots at them, and they were willing to let us do an analysis on their rifles. And it was one of their rifles that, in attempting to shoot a coyote, missed and didn't have a good backdrop and ended up putting it into the house. So it wasn't a criminal case, but it was just a way that trajectory can be used to kind of help us narrow the scene, and how easy it was to do all this in the software once we had that basic data. This was a case where we had a car driving down the road, and a young, I believe she was like 11 or 12, riding a motorcycle, and got hit by a car. And so, immediately we have to kind of wonder, whose fault is it? Is it the driver of the car or the rider of the motorcycle? So once I've got that scene scanned, I just simply put you in the perspective of the driver, and this is what the driver of the car can see. You can see that's not a lot of reaction time there. And then I can also do the same thing with the motorcyclist. So neither one of them really had much reaction time, but it just kind of helped us to showcase what each could have seen. One of the things that I do a lot is, especially with the proliferation of video being available, is a video speed analysis. So in this case, we've got, when I play the video, you'll see 3 people walking out into the street here in the upper left-hand corner, and that's where the action is going to happen. This was a hit and run. They were okay, but definitely hurt. And so I wanted to try and figure out, what was the speed of that car. So after I scan the scene, I am able to find certain landmarks. So here up here is the video camera, and then I find certain landmarks, and I'm able to do a time distance analysis by laying this out and figuring out speeds. And so that's what I've got here, and I've got different segments to kind of see, what their speed was at different points, and that's the upper part here. So you can see that I've got around 50 miles an hour in the early, and then after they were doing around 35, and this is a 35 mile an hour zone. And so it really kind of helps you to figure out how fast that car was going, and it's very easy to do. Like I said, I sound like a broken record, I know, but once you've got the data, there's so much you can do with it once you get back to the scene. I think about the old days when I started doing crash reconstruction. We were using total stations, and the only data you had was the data you made sure to collect. And so with the 3D laser scanners, it captures everything, and then later you decide what's important, rather than having to make the decision on what's important at the time that you're at the scene. This is another one that I did. So this is one of our patrol cars, and unfortunately it doesn't show it on this video, but when we play it in our native system, it shows the speed from the GPS in our camera system on the video. So he's trying to catch up to someone that's running from him, and he's about to have a bad day, as you'll see. He impacted that wall quite heavily, which is probably good because it kept him from going into the house. But what turns out is, according to the GPS, he's doing 90 miles an hour at the point he enters the roundabout here. But I'm able to, using 3D and the EDR data, which Jeff talked about, I loaded that into Ferrozone, and that's what that animation string is. And then I'm able to place that on the 3D data and show that actually, when he entered the roundabout, he was 69 miles an hour. Now, I know that may seem a little like we're splitting hairs, but Still too fast for that, but definitely not as bad that he was doing 69 there as opposed to 90. So that is all I have. So there's my contact information. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. I think I went a little bit long, but hopefully not too bad.
Thank you, Brian, for sharing your experience and for walking us through how 3D crime scene reconstruction is being used in real investigations. And now we will open it up for questions. If you haven't already, please submit your questions using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we'll work through as many as we can with our speakers. And if we don't get to your question today, we'll coordinate with the speakers to answer your questions after the event. Let's see. Ariana, maybe you can answer this one. Has rapid DNA been used for disaster victim identification? If so, what are some examples?
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. So you may remember from my application slide, victim identification is absolutely a big focus for rapid DNA. Most recently, a plane crash in Philadelphia, also Surfside condo collapse, the Maui fires, many places where the value of being able to get answers immediately on scene with the use of rapid DNA is critically important. You may have seen we dropped in the chat a link to the marketing pages for Thermo Fisher Scientific, and there are a lot of great examples and customer testimonials on the use of rapid for victim identification.
Thanks, Ariana. See, Doug, maybe you can take this one. My state crime lab is not interested in rapid DNA, but can my agency still have a rapid DNA program?
So it's a pretty complex question, actually. So you definitely need to reach out and have discussions with your state crime lab or a local crime lab. It doesn't have to be a state crime lab. If you want to get things into CODIS, you have to have that connection to a CODIS lab, and it's best to work with one in your state. If you're wanting to do things outside of CODIS, it's a complicated question for the FBI because the federal law outlines for us what is necessary for things like this, how to operate CODIS and things like that. So outside of CODIS is a much different question. I mean, it can be useful for victim identification, just like Ariana was talking about. It can be extremely useful for that. You don't need CODIS for that. But when it comes to crime scenes, you do need that CODIS connection.
Thanks, Doug. Brian, you could take this one. What kind of training is needed to be able to operate a FARO scanner? Is there a certification course or ongoing training?
I would recommend both. So there is a certification course that FARO has put together, and that's great for getting you in the door and doing the basics of understanding how to utilize that. There are others. I know the International Association of Forensic and Security Metrology does a basic laser scanning course that is vendor agnostic, but teaches and tests your ability on sort of the wider topics of scanning. Once you have completed the course, that's where your continuing education, sort of continuing to use it, comes in. If you are, an agency like San Bernardino County, that I think they have 5 or 6 scanners and use them multiple times a week, you get that practice. But I also know plenty of agencies that are much smaller and just don't have that workload. A lot of the folks I train in Oregon, they don't get that workload. And so it's really important for them to continue to do proficiency training and just remember how to do it. Running the scanner is not difficult. It's just there's a lot to think about and make sure you cover so that you actually collect the data correctly.
Thanks, Brian. Fred, this one's for you. How did you run your rapid DNA program for reachback support?
Okay, there we go. So we also contracted with a private lab because we're in Pennsylvania. As I said, there's only 3 CODIS labs in PA, Philadelphia, Allegheny County, and the state police who do an amazing job, but they just don't, they're not given enough folks to keep up with the demand. So we contracted since 2010 with a private lab to do local databasing, and also they do the reach back for us as well.
Thanks, Fred. Ariana, this one's for you. How can medical examiners and coroners use rapid DNA?
Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, so similarly to the comments regarding victim identification, body identification, there are many use cases for medical examiners in the use of rapid DNA. Again, similarly to the investigative work, being able to get those answers more quickly in 90 minutes on scene is critically important for medical examiners and rapid DNA.
Thanks, Ariana. Brian, this one's for you. Does the Faro Skydio 2 Plus drone have a LiDAR scanner, or is 3D imaging capture done through a photography method?
Photogrammetry.
Photogrammetry
I got
methods
you covered.
and
Yeah.
post-processing software.
Yeah, so the Skydio is their own company. They're not connected with Faro. That's just I've used DJI products in the past. It just happened that the way things happen, I ended up with Skydio on this permutation when I bought a new drone. No scanning there. It is all photogrammetry. And all the post processing that I do is in FaroZone itself. So with FaroZone, you can actually take the pictures and do the photogrammetry. I used to use Pix4D, which is a fantastic program, but it's also very expensive. And so when Faro brought out the ability to do photogrammetry in FaroZone, that saved me a lot of money every year. So that was very much appreciated.
Thanks, Brian. Doug, this one's for you. With the accreditation body and QAS requirements that assessors have experience with the technology and the low number of assessors that have that experience with Rapid, do you anticipate issues with spooling up the accreditation program for law enforcement agencies wanting their programs accredited for CODIS inclusion?
I've talked with both crediting bodies, and I have not gotten that type of impression from them at all. Rapid DNA is still capillary electrophoresis. It's still basically the same as what we do in the crime lab, the same premise, and so there isn't a need necessarily for any specialized. So best thing to do is reach out to your accrediting body and have that discussion with them. But we have not seen that. FBI got accredited in the rapid discipline just recently, and it was since we were already accredited through our accrediting body, that process was not that hard. And so just getting and talking to them is the most critical part, and finding out what they really want. Depending on how you're implementing your program, depends on what they need to see.
Thanks, Doug. Jeff, you could answer this one. How many agencies are using the system currently?
The software you saw, probably the dated spec 11,000 plus, more than that. I think the last time I ran it there was like 30,000 seats floating around or something of that sort. However, from a hardware perspective, as you saw from the slide 2000s, we're global. Like I said, I flashed some badges, some symbols there from private companies and obviously for in public safety agencies, but it's in the thousands.
Thanks, Jeff. I have another one for you. When duplicating an object in Faro, like a vehicle, can you preserve the point cloud data and the duplicated object to then use trajectory tools? Or are you locked into using a model duplicate for visual purposes?
Yeah, that might be something I would love to take offline with someone, like just a specific workflow. But what you can do with trajectory, you can scan, you can obviously preserve the raw scan information, do what you want with it, create another project. You can take that same vehicle, essentially make a duplicate of it, and then preserve it, and then do treachery with one and keep the other as unimpacted. But we have a team of FAEs. Their services are free. So if there's something specific that you want to see if we can do, send me an email. Again, it's jeff.voigt@amatech.com. And I'll put you in contact with the appropriate field application engineer to show you how that's done or capable. And if it's not capable, I saw Isabel Swarz is also on this chat right now. She's in charge of our FaroZone solution. We'd love to get voice of customer and see how we can improve the product.
Jeff, if I can jump in on that real quick. I think I understand what he's saying. In the two that I showed you where I moved the vehicles, that was a copy of the points from the point cloud, and I placed them there. I did that mainly because at the time I did those cases, that was all FaroZone can do. Now FaroZone can allow you to create a mesh and create your own model of that vehicle and then move that model around. So it kind of gives you the flexibility to do both. Yeah, but you can absolutely do but trajectory off of that. I'd probably use the points just because they're more accurate than the mesh. But you could easily do it with either one.
Thanks, Brian. Another one for Doug. I heard that Rapid DNA is going to be used at the border again. Do you have any updated information about that?
I do not. I mean, that's a different agency, not the FBI. And so unfortunately, I can't comment on another agency.
Okay, maybe Ariana, you can take this one. Are there any grants available for Rapid DNA? Where can I get further information about funding for Rapid DNA?
Yeah, so Go Rapid is a fantastic resource that Lauren actually operates as well. And there's a lot of amazing information as well as previously recorded webinars available on demand that talk very specifically about all of the amazing funding options that are available for Rapid. So I would encourage you, if you are not familiar with that site, to go there to get more details, and we'll definitely put the link in the chat.
Thanks, Ariana. This one, Jeff, maybe you can take this one. Do they have any ability to assist with grants to obtain their equipment?
Yes. So we work with the Police One and Grant Finder for assistance there. So I can send a link to specific on that one. But we had a session fairly recently where it's planned to talk about that grant process. So I recommend either watching that recording or going to the future webinar that we're going to have on that. But yes, one common concern with most agencies is funding. So I encourage all, it's not the batting average is going to be 1,000%, 100% or anything of that sort, but try to get those grants, and we offer solutions and services to try to find funding for that.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Jeff, maybe another one for you. For private experts, is there a way to be part or assist to a Faro Week training? For a complete training, I am from Puerto Rico and have no training locally, so I am interested to attend in other states.
I'm sorry, my side broke up a second. So the question was just attending training in the States. Was that accurate?
The question actually disappeared. Whoever asked that question, if you want to post it again, we can come back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Let's see if we have
I jumped over to the answered questions thing, and I think what they're asking is he's a private expert and wants to know how he can do the Faro training. So the Faro training is open to anyone, and you just got to find a trainer. So I think. So, technically, if you had enough people, you could probably find a trainer that would fly down to Puerto Rico and train the class there, potentially.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so our training solutions, and Brian hinted at it, we offer in-person training at a Faro facility. So there's different options. We offer 3-day, 5-day training sessions depending upon the agency's needs and budget. And then we also, what we do too as well, I wouldn't consider like official certification training of that sort, but we know that Agencies are always thirsting for more knowledge. Using some agencies, maybe they have a solution, they don't use it as frequently. What we try to do strategically is we do these things called 3D workshops where an agency agrees to host. And typically we'll send a team of engineers that showcase how to utilize the solution and practical exercises, whether it's crash, crime, pre-incident. And we invite agencies in the surrounding area to also attend to keep up with their skills. But again, if you have specific questions on training, I would be happy to answer that directly for specific for your agency. But to answer for Brian's point, on-site training as well as facility training we offer.
Thanks, Jeff. And that is all of the questions that we have for today. We've covered a lot of ground across both rapid DNA and 3D crime scene construction from part 1 and part 2 of this series. And if you're looking to take the next step in your education on these technologies, our final session of the Emerging Forensic Technology series will take place on March 4th. This session will be designed to give you the remaining pieces of information you need to move forward with adopting these technologies with confidence. And you'll hear directly again from Thermo Fisher Scientific and FARO and have the opportunity for a focused, direct Q&A around how these technologies could fit within your specific agency. And we'll drop the registration link again in the chat, and we hope that you'll join us for that final conversation. And you'll also see a slide on your screen with ways to stay connected with TechHalo. You can subscribe on our website to make sure you never miss an upcoming event and follow us on social media for other updates. And finally, a sincere thank you to all of our speakers and attendees for being with us today, and a huge, huge thanks to Thermo Fisher Scientific and FARO for supporting the series and helping make today's event possible. And we hope to see you again on March 4th. Have a great day, everybody.